Doreen Grand-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
Honey says, hi there, my son is 4 and he can comment and answer questions, but still can't ask questions. He engages with adults, but doesn't accept kids at all. He blacks out the kids, doesn't respond to them.
Yeah, and I think I saw another from one from Za, I think, where she said she had tried, or was it Za or
That's
Honey?
Honey.
Honey had said she tried pairing with cousins. Honey, let's talk about kind of this whole process of getting our kids to first of all, you're asking two different things. Like we want to make sure your child is paying attention or aware of other kids and interested in other kids, and then we want to tell you kind of how to get that going or how to help make that happen. So he's first of all, your child's at the point where they're answering questions, which is great. So congratulations, and that's a big milestone to pass. But there are specific lessons. Like when I was writing the card program, one of the lessons we had was kind of the question answer question, where you would start with very, very basic questions. And it's a whole different thing if you're making a statement or asking a question. There's a lot of different things about it. Not just asking a question, but the intonation when you ask a question is a little bit different. So you initially just prompt him, and I'm wondering and hoping and assuming that you have an ABA program in place. And if you do, then you essentially, the lessons are actually called statement, and the second lesson is called statement question, where you will model for your child how to ask a basic question. And let me tell you, usually when our kids get the idea, the concept that they can ask a question, it becomes like a barrage of questions because now it's a whole new thing. It's a new, I guess, tool that they have where they can ask you something and then they get you to interact. So the very next thing that has to happen is to teach them to actually wait for the answer and then to not ask a million questions. Like I do have children who have unfortunately, they think the only way to communicate or interact is to ask questions. So this will come. It's part of programming. Let us know if you have an ABA program in place. If you don't, you're at a very advanced level now. You're starting to get into kind of advanced communication. And I really do recommend that you have some people who have some expertise in teaching these lessons, so that you don't make a lot of mistakes as you're teaching this whole process of which is basic social communication. And that brings me to the second part of your question, which is, why is he not interested in other kids? And it's interesting because a lot of our kids become more comfortable with adults because the adults cater to them, right? When they're starting to communicate, the adult is very concerned, very worried, very like aware, and trying to just make sure that they're rewarding. That's like one thing another child won't do. Adults, if our child responds correctly, adults will usually be like, wow, that's right, that's great. And you can't see another child doing that, right? So there's a lot of difference between how we communicate with adults and how we communicate with children. And as a child, it's more rewarding to communicate with adults. But the way that you do it is not, I appreciate that you brought the cousins in, and familiarity definitely helps. But I think what you need to do is take one cousin, preferably, and I think you wrote that it's a 4-year-old child. I think preferably you're looking for, let's say, a 6 or 7-year-old girl cousin alone, who will come to the house and you will spend some time doing some very, very kind of pre-organized lessons or programs. You don't, they won't play if you just kind of throw them together. So the 7-year-old becomes your, someone part of the therapy team in that sense. And you give them some very basic interactions that they can do. And it can be basic things in the beginning, like the little girl can say, "Come on, let's go and play together," or "Let's go and, go on the swings," or "This is my doll," and just promote some interaction. And the seven, usually, the reason I'm asking for a 7-year-old girl is that there's a lot of like 6 or 7-year-old girls that love being teacher. And so it's fun for them too. So you'll do some very basic like imitation. Let's do this. Let's run. Let's do, or like they'll show your child like picture cards and ask questions about them, that kind of thing. And then gradually, as your child becomes kind of feels a little bit more safe and feels like their interactions with this other child are rewarding, which they have to be, you have to make sure they are, then you can start integrating some of the more advanced lessons, like answering questions and asking questions. And it's a very, very gradual series of lessons. You're at the point though where your focus should be on things like social communication. And social communication, I say it like that, but honestly it's like 10 different lessons lead to social communication. It's not one thing that you teach. And Shannon, as we get more and more people coming on our show, it just becomes really clear to me that a lot of people are um, asking for or are in need of a lot more detail having to do with lessons. So I'm wondering if like there's some other venue where we can start to just talk about individual lessons, Because like if I was to start talking about social communication right now, it'd take up the rest of the hour.
Yeah.
So we kind of have to figure out how to answer, because a lot of the questions are asking about specific lessons.
I have an idea. And so perhaps we can meet about that today.
That's awesome.
But I love this, and I love your advice about, what we call that. You were looking for the 7-year-old girl. We call that in our family the bossy gut girl.
Yes.
I was a bossy gut girl. The girl who comes into the party and says, "Let's play this," and
Yes.
assigns everybody a role and says, "You be the dog and I'll be the mom." And then 5 minutes later, when she sees that playing the dog is fun, she goes, "No, I want to be the dog now." And that those are the best kids at this phase. And there's always one in your class. And I know you did write in and say, honey, that your child is the only one of the cousins who isn't going to school yet. And that can be really hard. But, sometimes if you look around among your friends, or if you take them to a class or something, you'll find that bossy gut girl. And I'll tell you something, when you invite the bossy gut girl to the play date, that mom will cling to you because nobody else wants the bossy gut girl at their party, at their play date, anything. So she will be thrilled that you want the bossy gut girl to come. And the bossy gut girl is like a therapist in training. They're the best thing ever. But everybody else finds them annoying at that age. So mom will be happy to pawn her off on you. And I love you. You had us doing this with our son, and it was amazing because before that he was an only kid. Why did he want to be with the other kids? Because when you're with the other kids, they demanded attention, right? But then what we did, because you told us to, we heavily reinforced not only the bossy gut girl, but our son. Like whatever the treat was that he wanted, like we would always go through the In-N-Out drive-through. That was the big thing. So there was a food treat that they got for playing well together. They got to do something that they didn't typically get to do. And suddenly he wanted that. He wanted more play dates. It mattered to him. And you slowly build from there. So absolutely amazing. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook.
You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.
To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time on autismnetwork.com. We hope to see you there.